ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्समआणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासि अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारमवतु भक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति 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 हरिः ॐ। Om. May my speech be accorded with the mind. May my mind be accorded with the speech. O self-effulgent one Brahman, reveal thyself to me. May you both, speech and mind, be the carriers of the highest truth to me. May not all that I have heard depart from me. May I be able to join day and night through this study. I shall utter what is verbally true. I shall utter what is mentally true. May that Brahman protect me. May that Brahman protect the teacher. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto you all. Good morning. This morning I am going to speak on another important subject, the derivatives of egoism. We have delivered a few lectures on egoism and ego, the function of ego, etc. So ego has different functions. That is why some psychologists, they call it ego system. Actually, in Indian philosophy, we do not find that much discussion on ego. It is only Western psychologists, they discussed on ego, and especially the psychoanalyst group started by Freud, They also discussed many things about ego, many terms they have generated on ego. In Indian philosophy, why ego is not much discussed? It is because, according to Indian philosophy, ego is the primordial ignorance. Primordial ignorance means from the beginning, just like Prakriti. Prakriti is the primordial ignorance, and Prakriti means the Sattva, Tamas and Rajas. So the Sattva, Tamas, Rajas is the nature, matter, the material cause of this creation. So material cause not only of this creation but also material cause of the individual. So this is the nature, the Prakriti, and that is Sattva, Tamas, Rajas, and that is the primordial ignorance. So if you follow the Sankhya philosophy, then we know Sankhya philosophy is the dualistic philosophy. So there is two distinct sections. One is matter and another is the spirit or consciousness. So here it is okay. The two are different things. And when they two come together, together means it is not combined together. It is only in juxtaposition. They come side by side and then creation happens. And in Sanskrit they call it Purusha and Prakriti. The consciousness is the Purusha and the matter or primordial nature is the Prakriti. So when Purusha and Prakriti come together in juxtaposition side by side, then only creation happens. This is the concept of Sankhya. But in Advaita, there is no two things. There is only one thing, and that is Brahman. So according to, that means the nature, the primordial ignorance, the nature, the Sattva, Tama, Rajas, that also created from Brahman, from that same absolute. So according to them, why this separation? Why ignorance? Is it possible to create ignorance from a consciousness? And here comes the function of Maya. They say that, what is the Maya? Swamiji said the definition, as a definition of Maya, is the statement of fact. So it is a statement, it is there, at the same time it is not there. So what is the definition, what is the example of that? It is there, at the same time it is not there. The stock example is dream. The stock example is rainbow. The stock example is mirage. So these are the stock examples of Maya. So it is there, at the same time it is not there. So Prakriti is also, it is there, at the same time it is not there. So this is Maya. So it has come from Brahman itself, because the existence, oneness of existence. So there is only one, no two. So if there is no two, that is the primordial ignorance. Take the example on individual. So how this primordial ignorance or ego is the primordial ignorance. So how this ego generates within us? It generates within us just like I consciousness. So I, the awareness of I, and it comes, I gave that example. So again, I am repeating this, that a baby, when a baby is born, it cries. What does it mean? It means it expresses its presence. Yes, I am there. I want something, or I am not happy in this environment. So that is the cry signifies. So the point is this, the baby is aware of its existence. That is the point. So he is aware of its existence. So that is ego. So ego is already inherited, already there when we are born. The moment we are born, the ego is already there. So this is the ego. So it is primordial ignorance. From the beginning it is there. And ignorance means it is Maya. So Sri Ramakrishna also, he connected ego with Maya. So this is the concept of ego. So ego is always there, the I awareness. I am sitting here, yes, I am aware that I am sitting here. We have all what we think that is already there. So this is the awareness. We think it is very difficult to explain in words this kind of awareness, but it is, if we think a little bit, we can understand that we have that kind of awareness that I am sitting, I am talking, I am listening. So this kind of awareness is there. That is ego. And when this ego is So ego is the I awareness. It is the core detachable thing from Atman. So it is not Atman, it is detachable. It can be detached from the Atman. So this is ignorance. So ignorance can be separated from the main thing. But it is a core thing. So it is the I awareness, just I. And then it is the part of our personality which organizes the function of other parts and goal-oriented work. So ego is the main player in our personality. That is the point. So Atman cannot work. The presence of Atman is important. So that is why, according to Sankhya philosophy, the image of Mother Kali can be explained. So according to Sankhya philosophy, Mother Kali is the Prakriti. So Mother Kali is doing all work. But the Shiva's presence is important. Shiva is lying down under the feet of Mother Kali. He is inactive. So he is just there. His presence is important. Otherwise, Mother Kali cannot work. So Shiva is Purusha here. His presence is important. But then only Mother Kali work. So that is the image of Mother Kali, explanation of the image of Mother Kali. Mother Kali is Prakriti working. But in other sense, Sri Ramakrishna also said Mother Kali and Brahman are identical. There is no difference between Mother Kali. According to Tantric point of view, Mother Kali is Brahman only. So this is the just little bit digression. So this is ego. When ego is connected with our desire, our impulses, then it will become egoism or egotism. So you see, when this is bad, this is egoism, this is one of the first derivative of ego. So it is said that egoism, it is comprehensive phenomenon, and it is comprehensive phenomenon. The system of ethical and social philosophy based on the view that the fundamental motive underlying all morality and all conduct is in the last resort of self-interest. So this self-interest is the main goal of everything what we are doing. A characteristics of an individual exhibiting and illustrating this view in practice is called egoism. So egoism is a kind of self-interest, selfishness, and egoism is identical. And egoism refers the feeling of me and mine. The ego refers I, awareness. Egoism is me and mine, this kind of awareness. Egoism is a wrong type of self-objectification. Egoism is the feeling of mine. Egoism represents its wrong attitude towards the world. Egoism has a tendency to appreciate things from universal life for the use of the ego and the anxious desire to protect the ego. So this is the function of egoism, the first derivative of ego. So egoism is the bad thing. Ego is not bad thing. See, when ego is connected with our impulses, with our desire and the external world, that is called egoism. So egoism, I did this, I. This kind of thing is called, which is in Sanskrit called ahamkara. So this kind of thing is egoism. This is bad. But ego is not bad. The I awareness, what harm it is doing? It doesn't do, and we cannot eliminate that because it is primordial ignorance. Whether we like it or not, ego must be there with us. Without ego, we do not have any existence in this world. Because a person who doesn't have any I consciousness, I awareness, he is nowhere. So, I awareness, ego, whether we like it or not, ego must be there. Ego is not bad as such, but egoism, when it is identified with other things, desire and external things, that become bad. That actually triggers us to get that thing, to get the external worldly things, to do some, fulfill some desire. So this is actually the bad thing, the first derivative. Let us see what Bhagavad Gita says about ego. Bhagavad Gita also explained about ego. So in verse number 4.4 and 5.13, means chapter 4 verse 4 and chapter 13 verse number 4. Here Bhagavad Gita actually explains, chapter 7 verse number 4. Chapter 7 verse number 4 and chapter 13 verse number 5. So in these two verses, Bhagavad Gita expresses the difference between ego and egoism. In the first verse, it says that ego is included as one among the 8 categories of the lower Prakriti. It is verse number 4, chapter 7. The 8 categories. You know, the material cause, as in chemistry, we know the periodic tables, in science, we know the periodic tables in chemistry. In periodic tables, they said the element. How many elements are there? There are probably now, I don't know, probably 116 or 18 or 20 elements are there in the periodic table. But in Indian philosophy, they call it categories. So different categories. In Advaita Vedanta, there is only one category, and that is Brahman. In Sankhya philosophy, there are 2 categories, Purusha and Prakriti, the consciousness and the matter. And similarly, in Mimamsaka philosophy, in Vaisheshika, there are 6 philosophical schools in Indian philosophy. So in different philosophies, so there are different kinds of categories. So there are, in Bhagavad Gita, it explains that 24 categories. In Gospel also you find 24 categories. This is according to the Mimamsaka's philosophy. There are 24 categories. So Prakriti, the material cause, is 24 categories. And consciousness is included there. So consciousness is also one of the categories. From Sankhya philosophy, consciousness is completely separated from the matter. And they considered 2 categories. So, and in another verse, it is said, this is ego, and in another verse, it is concluded as one of the among 24 categories. One is 8 categories, one is 24 categories. It is said, in both these contexts, the ego, ahamkara, is regarded either as a mental faculty or as an essential ingredient of nature. So see, in Bhagavad Gita also, we find that ego is the part of nature. Ego doesn't have any consciousness. If consciousness is not there, ego cannot function. On the other hand, egoism is regarded as a vice, sinful tendency, or demonical disposition, asura sampatti. In Bhagavad Gita, they separated two kind of qualities of human being. One is Daiva Sampat, another is Asura Sampat. Sampat means the qualities. One is Daiva, the divine qualities, and another is the Asura, means the demonic qualities. So these two type of qualities Bhagavad Gita explained. A person is having two types of qualities. However, this egoism is the demonic quality, Asura Sampatti, and ego is the Daiva Sampatti. But it is a matter. So here also we find that ego is harmless thing. I awareness is harmless. Only egoism, when I awareness is connected with our impulses, it is connected with the external world, then it will become harmful. So egoism is the harmful thing. This is the ego and egoism. Sometimes egoism is also called egotism. Egotism means I. This is called egotism. Then the superego. These are the terms. I shall go very fast by the terms. 13 types of derivatives are there. So ego is a system. They call it ego system. Because why it is called ego system? It is because, a person, an individual, has to play different roles. I explained it earlier. A person has to play different roles. How? I am a person. I am a monk. I am a son. I am a friend. I am a student. I am a teacher. I am a citizen. So see, a person, how many roles a person has to play? And each role is connected with our ego. How these roles are projected and function, it is connected with our ego. So as it were, the ego system, it is a kind of net, ego system. So it creates a ego system. So that is called the ego system. So different derivatives are there. The superego, it is the term employed by psychoanalysts. Before going, I am referring psychoanalyst, this term. Almost all the ego term has been formulated by psychoanalyst. The father of psychoanalyst is Freud. And so what is the concept of Freud about ego? This is very interesting. So, according to Freud, the human urge is based on libido or id. So, ego, according to Freud, ego controls libido. But it is not true. Why? We know libido is a basic urge. And according to Freud, that is the main motive force of human being. Now the point is, ego controls libido, but if ego fails to control libido, if libido's urge is very powerful, then what will happen? Then ego comes back, and as a result, there will be fear psychosis, there will be anxiety, and there will be neurosis, the neurotic problem. So these are the result. It happens. So it is not that always ego controls libido. As for example, if somebody has some basic urge in a social atmosphere, immediate he or she can control it. She can control that. What is controlling? Ego is controlling. But sometimes, if ego cannot control that, what will happen? We call it, it's a neurotic patient, it's a psychologically distorted. So exactly in the same way, this is the fault of, this is the concept and relation between ego and Freud's concept of libido. However, the superego is this. The term employed psychoanalysts to designate a structure in the unconscious. So superego is this is the structure in the unconscious, and built up early experience on the basis mainly of the child's relation to his parents. So in childhood, the parents, they control the children and all other, and they develop a conscience. Now this conscience concept is not very much in vogue, but at one point the conscience, what your conscience is saying. So this conscience is at one time was a very important aspect. So the development of this conscience and the criticizing the thought and acts of the ego feeling the guilt of and anxiety when the ego gratifies or tends to gratify the primitive impulses. So the superego is a structure it is constructed from our childhood by the administration of our parents, teacher, etc., which can control or which can develop our conscience. Yes, this is right, we have to do that. This kind of conscience, the development of conscience from our childhood, this is called superego, a superego structure, this is called. Then the ego instinct, used by, again, psychoanalyst of one group of instincts, is that there is twofold classification. One is the ego instinct about the worldly things, what we are describing. And obviously, as it is the term used by psychoanalysts, then again, another ego instinct is the basic urge, the sex instinct. That is the thing. Then ego libido, attachment of libido of ego or self. Then egocentric, we call it egocentric. Those people are selfish, we call them egocentric people. So it is self-centered, self-interested, indifferent to anyone's concern. In association tests, the responses which are clearly personal as classified as egocentric response. So these people are called egocentric people, those who are very, so selfishness is very closely connected with ego system. So another very important aspect is this. Do you think that self-love and selfishness is the same thing? Yes. Self-love and selfishness is not the same thing. Because selfishness doesn't mean the self-love. Selfishness comes from, it is the reverse force. I would explain that. What is egocentricity? When I describe the egocentricity, we can find ego has a very good aspect in our character. That is the misleading part. Ego protects us always. Ego's function is protecting us. Egoism is not protecting us. Egoism is doing all kinds of I and mine and me and everything. But ego has a protecting part. Ego is saving us. So this saving quality of ego is called egocentricity. Take the example. If I criticize any one of you right now, what will be your response? Immediately you will try to defend yourself. We always, either criticizing or anything, we always try to defend ourselves. We give some logic, justification to defend ourselves. What is this kind of thing? Who is doing that? Ego is doing that. And this quality of ego, this derivative of ego, is called egocentricity. I would discuss that point. So selfishness is actually the byproduct of that protective power. We become selfish to protect us. We become jealous to protect us. What is the previous step? Why we become jealous? Why this protection concept is coming in the stage? It is because only when we feel helpless, then only protective concept will come. Jealousy is another protective impulses. So why jealousy is coming? Why these protective impulses are coming? It is because when we feel helpless, then only we compare with others. And when we find, after comparing, that okay, I am not at par with the other person, then to protect us, to justify ourselves, this jealousy is coming. So under the surface, there is a comparison factor and finding us inferior. Then only jealousy comes. So this is a protective power. Ego is protecting us by pumping the jealousy to think ourselves, yes, we are at par. He is not like that. He has this kind of fault. I do not have that. So see, behind everything, there is a comparison in jealousy. There is a inferior concept behind, so that we will become selfish. No, I shall protect myself. This is mine. So selfishness comes in this way. So selfishness is a kind of byproduct of ego, derivatives of ego, which is trying to protect the self, the ego. So it is egocentricity. This function is called egocentricity. And egocentric is obviously the another is egosyntonic. Egosyntonic, the term again, psychoanalyst, meaning is the harmony with the ego and its standard. That is called egosyntonic. Then ego alter theory. The theory seeking to account for growth of social consciousness and development of social organization from the interaction between self and other. So it is the connection between ego and the world. According to Indian philosophy, when I spoke on alienation, you might have remembered that I spoke about there are 3 stages of alienation. And these three stages of alienation, the first alienation is between the Absolute and the Paramatman and the Jivatman. This is the first alienation. The second alienation is Jivatman and the ego, I. This is the second. And third is ego and the world. In between there are egoism. So this is the third alienation. So this is the third alienation, the ego alter theory, which is called this connection between the society and this. Then again, ego ideal. This is also psychoanalytic. All these ego concepts they have studied. It is the post-Freud development, and they studied on ego so much. They have developed all these things. So ego ideal. It is more or less substitute for conscience. We know the ego system is called the conscience. So an individual system of acceptance of moral principles, etc. So it is called ego ideal. So according to Western philosophers, ego is the core personality of an human being. But according to Indian philosophy, ego is the byproduct. Ego is the prakriti. Ego is not the core identity of an individual. The self is the core identity of an individual. Here lies the difference. Then one important point is ego-ity. Ego-ity, so these 4 points actually important. I have mentioned 13 ego derivatives. Among them 4 are very important. One is ego, one is egoism or egotism. So here is 2 terms, egoism or egotism. And the third one is ego-ity. Ego-ity is simple the I awareness. That is ego-ity. Take the example. I am a doctor. I am an engineer. I am a lawyer. I am a police officer. So all these are designations, okay? So the identity of ego with all these develop the egoism or egotism. But if we do not identify with that, this is called ego-ity. I am a person. I am Swami Prasannatmananda. Period. Here is no harm. I am this. But when designation is coming, I am a monk. Immediate egoism comes. But I am Swami Prasannatmananda is ego-ity. And the last one is ego awakening. So we cannot eliminate ego. Sri Ramakrishna also says, we cannot eliminate ego. Because ego is the primordial ignorance. We cannot eliminate ego. We can eliminate egoism, but we cannot eliminate ego. So what is ego awakening? There are 2 levels of ego awakening. One is lower level of ego awakening, another is higher level of ego awakening. Sri Ramakrishna also says in his language, the ripen eye and the tender eye. Paka ami, kacha ami. So ripen eye and the tender eye. So this ego awakening is the simple awakening that when a person can understand the difference between ego and egotism and ego and self. When they understand and the function of egoism, that is the lower level of ego awakening. So spirituality, what spirituality can give a person, spirituality can give this kind of ego awakening. That yes. And what is the result of ego awakening? There are different results of ego awakening, but you can face the challenges of your life in a smarter way. That is the result of ego awakening. So this is the lower ego awakening. You can understand the difference between ego and egotism or egoism. That's all. And the higher level of awakening is the spiritual awakening. Then only you can understand the difference between the self and the ego. So this is the ego structure or ego system and the derivatives of ego. Now I would give you very fast the few causes why this egoism develops. Egoism develops, it is not easy. Egoism develops to protect us actually. It is not doing any harm to us. It is actually trying to protect us. If we try to understand this very carefully, then we can easily eliminate the egoism. To eliminate the egoism is not very tough. Eliminate of ego is very tough. It cannot be. It is very difficult. Because it is a primordial ignorance. So what is the causes? The first cause is the struggle for existence. We all know Lamarck's theory of struggle for existence, or Darwin theory for struggle for existence. And actually, what we studied, the struggle for existence in the physical level. But we always trying to do the struggle for existence in the mental level. The animal, they fight for their existence for the physical level. But we always try to fight in the mental level. As for example, in modern society, person's worth is judged not by what he is, but what he has. Who is the successful man in this society? How we consider a successful man in a society? Who have sufficient money? Who is respected in the society? Who is lavishly leading his life? We call it, yes, see, the successful man. You see how happy he is. So, the successful man is considered in this society according to what he has, not what he is. So that's why this is a great challenge, mental challenge, and it is a struggle for existence. How to get rid of this kind of challenges? Egoism is coming to the scene and try to save us. The development of egoism. Second, insecurity. We always face some kind of insecurity. And this kind of insecurity, either see, at one time in our life, we always face this kind of insecurity in our society. Either I have to get rid of from my group, or I have to surrender to the opinion of the group. Either I have to lead my life according to the opinion of the group, in which group I am associated, whether I like it or not, or I have to get rid from the group. Do you understand what I am saying? So this is a kind of insecurity. I am not secured. I don't feel I am not secured. Because if I have to surrender to my group, then I have to lose my individuality. Or if I do not, then I have to get rid of from the group. I become isolated. So this is a kind of insecure consideration. So egoism comes. Immediately the defensive mechanism develops within us. Egoism try to protect us. And as a result, this selfishness, this egotism, this kind of things come to establish myself. Then third is immaturity. It is quite natural, you see, our personal defect. So this kind of immature things we always do. So egocentricity, this protective power is the egocentricity, the ego is protecting us. So egocentricity is essentially a personal defect. See, person's inability to manage himself properly, and it is therefore the sign of immaturity. I gave the example of the group and individuality. So if I cannot manage my ego properly, then this egoism is coming. So it is a kind of immaturity. If I am immature, then it is coming actually. Then ignorance. Then ignorance is another important thing. So egoistic and selfish person are the ones who have the least knowledge about themselves. It is because of two reasons. One is that their present knowledge of themselves is based on wrong identity, because they are identified with egoism. So they cannot understand themselves. Instead of identifying themselves with the true self, they are identifying themselves with the false self, which is egoism or egotism. All the brooding on oneself only strengthens this wrong identity. And secondly, normal thinking in most people is dominated by unconscious. It follows certain instinctive patterns, and that is not good, because all our decision making is coming out of our impulses, our emotions. There is no rationality. So these are the four things, the causes of the development of egoism. To protect all this, egoism is coming in the scene. And definitely there are egocentric behavior also. In the human being, we find there are different egocentric behavior. As an example is a sense of inferiority. I have already mentioned. We consider ourselves inferior. And then again, getting appreciation from others. We always try to get some appreciation from others, when we cannot find the appreciation, we become angry. So this is also another kind of the premises of egocentric behavior. These people are egocentric. Then establishment of identity with worth of others. So we identify with some group or some person. So so that we can also become somebody like that. This premise maintains that happiness and fulfillment belong to the person who succeeds in establishing his identity and worth before other people. So if I can establish my worth and success in front of other people, then I consider it, the good one. So this is also the expression of egoism or egotism. So see, egoism or egotism is coming to protect us, and from where? For struggle for existence, then the immature condition, then the insecurity. For all these things, the egoism is coming to play. And egoism expression is in this way: inferiority complex, and then there is the appreciation from others, and I express my potentiality in front of others. So this is the byproduct of these things. Any question? So how to eradicate? These are all the problems I have explained. So how to get rid of that? First step, ego awakening. You must know the functions of ego. That is the lower level awakening. And the higher level awakening is connecting your ego. Why the ego concept is coming? Because self and ego is disconnected. If you have only one identity, oneness of existence, then this separation is not coming. You will represent yourself as what you are. So if oneness of existence, then there is no any function of ego or egotism. So this problem will not come. So this is the higher level of solving our ego. So the problem is alienation, because our ego is alienated. So the solution is de-alienation. Please.
I've also heard it explained ego as the division of mind in four parts, and one part is the ego. I've read somewhere.
This is perhaps you have not attended the other classes. That is why this is a little bit advanced thing. For knowing these things, you have to understand what is the concept of human personality according to Indian philosophy. So what are the components of mind? What is called mind? What is called self? So you have to understand this. This is the fundamental things of Indian philosophy. But there are things the main core things is the self, and ego is, I have already mentioned that ego is the I awareness, the primordial things. So this is the difference between the ego and the self. That is called the first alienation. And then the ego is the one of the component of mind. That's all, I would say. one of the component of I awareness. This is a component, one of the component of mind. It is called, this in Shankaracharya's song, it is that mana buddhi ahankara chitta hinanam. So mana buddhi ahankara. Ahankara is the ego. Yes, please.
So, like if we defend, we become selfish, like defend 100%. If we don't defend and take all the blame, then lot of pressure will come. So
that is what I said. That is why I said that you cannot escape. So ego awakening is important. So ego awakening comes that you know that this is the function of ego awakening. This is the function of egotism. So you are not going to establish your existence by fighting. You know that real person is the person. What he has is not the original thing. A person can be judged by what he is, not what he has. So this is the first point. Like that you have to analyze. And you must not go for establishing yourself, struggle for your existence. It is not physical existence, I'm talking about the mental existence, ego existence. So fight for ego existence. Okay, this is the number one. Then again, your development of maturity is necessary. So you must have the development of maturity. And then insecurity. All these things you have to consider. So when you can understand the function of egoism and the function of ego, then easily it is eliminated. So you will not be guided by your impulses, because egoism is the connection of ego with your impulses and your desire, all these things. If you can detach it, it is fine. That's the point. Yes, please.
So, since ego is a consequence of this primordial alienation from the consciousness, if you will, and then of course, ego by itself is not an issue, but when it manifests in functional forms, egoism, then it becomes an issue. So, without the functional manifestation of egoism, is ego itself stabilized or it disintegrates automatically?
Well, you are asking for how to get rid of the ego. Not the egoism, but the ego.
Will the ego be stabilized without, let's say one manages to deal with eliminating the egoism part, then will the ego by itself still be stabilized, or it would be more in continuum with the conscious and it will...
That is the spirituality. What is ego is now doing? Ego is identifying with our impulses all these variations. If you can disconnect ego from that variations, so all these worldly things, then what will happen? Ego will turn. Now ego, the direction of ego is outward. At that point it will come inward. And that is what in Katha Upanishad it is saying, that Paranchikhani Vatrinath Sayambhu, all our senses are directed outward. So we have to turn it inward. And that is the beginning of your spirituality. When ego is disconnected from there, ego will turn round and it will be connected with the self. And that is what is required.
Yeah. So we eventually will do away with the primordial alienation. It wouldn't be...
Right. Right. Any? Yes.
Could you give some examples of what you mean by impulses?
What is it?
Impulses. You say desires and impulses.
Impulses.
Yeah. Could you give
So impulses are, urge. The animal, they are guided by impulses. What kind of impulse come in their greed? greed, temptation, all kind of these are impulses. Something is coming sometime in your mind and you jump into it. That is called impulses. Emotions. Emotions is a little bit long term, but impulses is short term. The kids, you give them chocolate, they jump into it and try to grab it, okay? But another person is giving some ball or some toys, he forget about the chocolate, he go into the chocolate, the toys. So these are impulses. Boom, it is coming and it is going down. Those are impulses.
Someone cuts it off.
Yes, but that's all. That is the impulses. Anything? Okay, we have let us finish it and then I can announce. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkham Apnuvat Sarvastarotu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarva Sadbuddhim Apnotu Sarva Sarvatra Nandatu Durjana Sajjano Bhuyat Sajjana Shantimapnuat Shantamucchete Bandhebhyo Muktaschanyan Vimochayet. May all be happy. May all enjoy good health. May all see happy events. May all be freed from miseries. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bondages. May the freed make others free. May the Supreme Spirit, the presiding deity of all sacred activities, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe feels satisfied. Peace, peace, peace unto you. So we have a few announcements. On 4th February, Sunday, we will have Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary special worship at 3 p.m. here, Sunday. And another special announcement is for, obviously March is there and April, but I would announce you because it is not connected. We have fixed it way earlier because everywhere there is the Ram temple is going on. The hike is there for Ram temple. So we have a lecture in April. It is 6th April, Saturday. A professor from Iowa University, emeritus professor, he translated the Tulsidas Ramayana in English. As you know, Professor Goldman from UC Berkeley, he and his wife delivered talk here, and they translated Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana in English. And this professor from Iowa University, he translated Tulsidas Ramayana, and he has some books also on Hanuman. He is going to deliver a talk on 6th April on the relation between Ramachandra and Hanuman and what is their function in an analytic way. So it is on 6th February. So it is an early announcement though, but please try to attend. He is a very famous professor. Time will be 6:30 or like that evening, Saturday evening. It will be on 6th. We shall announce through our bulletin and everything, but it is the early announcement little bit. And as usual, tea and coffee will be served in Saradananda Hall, which will be followed by Prasad luncheon. You all are welcome. Thank you.